Normally, the things that we do in these pre-lectures, I would encourage people to try at home. But today, we're going to do stuff which is dangerous, and do not try this. Do not try this. I've thought very carefully about all the safety procedures necessary to do this safely. But if you try to replicate this at home, you are apt to run into a dangerous situation. So do not try any of the things that I'm about to do. They're instructive, but you don't want to try these unless you know very, very thoroughly what's happening behind the scenes. The electricity supply that you have in your house is AC. We know that. Now, if you look at a standard electric outlet, there's 3 holes. 1, 2, and 3. These 2 are the important 2, okay? And one of them is grounded. This side right here, the bigger outlet, is grounded, and it's actually connected to the earth. When we say it's grounded, it's literally grounded. It's connected to the earth. We have a diagram that shows a symbol for the ground connection in chapter 26. It's important for establishing a reference, but it's also important for safety, as we'll see. So this terminal is grounded. This terminal is hot. So it's at a positive or negative voltage, depending upon which cycle of the AC electricity you're on. So this one goes up as high as 170 volts, and it goes down as far as negative 170 volts. This one is at 0 volts. Now I'm going to plug this device in. This wire right here is connected to the ground outlet. This wire is connected to the hot outlet. And this one is connected to the 3rd pin. And the 3rd pin is also grounded. So this one we're going to call the hot wire. This one is the neutral wire. That's connected to the grounded terminal of the electricity supply. And this one is the electrical ground. Now I'm going to turn the outlet on. And now the outlet's on, but this wire is grounded. And I can touch it. This is just connected to the earth, and that's no more dangerous than standing on the ground. There's no voltage on that wire with respect to ground. There is voltage on this wire, and I can prove it by doing this. I'm going to hook up a light bulb between these 2 terminals, and if there's a voltage difference between these 2 terminals, I'll have a current, and the light bulb will light. But this one is still grounded, okay? So this one is safe to touch. But it turns out, as long as I only touch with one hand, this wire is safe to touch. This is at 170 volts. So there's a voltage difference between my hand and the floor, but in between me and the floor are my shoes. And my shoes have very thick rubber soles, and so there's a tremendous amount of resistance between me and the ground. And as we'll see in the chapter, if you've got protective footwear, you can touch a wire and you won't receive an electric shock, because there's enough resistance in the current path to have the current be low enough that it's not dangerous. Now, this wire is hot, this one is neutral. And now I'm only working with one hand because I don't want to grab 2 wires. If I grab 2 wires, then there's a voltage difference across my torso. That could lead into a potentially difficult situation. We don't want that. We don't want that. So, neutral and hot. But this wire is connected to the neutral lead, and it's important in the circuit because that produces part of the voltage difference. This 3rd wire, the ground connection, is exactly the same. It's connected to the ground. It's connected to the ground. And so I can take the wire and I can connect it here, and the light bulb lights just as well. And that wire is there for safety. In case this wire comes loose, then I could have my hot wire loose inside a device, and I could have high voltage with no place to go. Someone touches it, a shock could result. So typically, if I have a metal device, the case is grounded. It's connected to the earth, and that keeps you from getting into a dangerous electrical situation. Okay? Now, we're going to look at one more aspect of your household electricity. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to disconnect this, take this out, and I'm going to plug in this device right here. And this device is a little lamp, and the little lamp is connected with this plug, and this plug has a couple of buttons on it. And one of them says test, and the other says reset. This plug is a so-called GFI, or ground fault interrupter. So I'll plug this in and turn the outlet on, And now I have two light bulbs that light, and they're both connected to the hot and the neutral wire of this outlet. And these are the hot and neutral wires of this outlet. Here's the neutral, and here's the hot wire. Now, the current comes out the hot wire, goes through these two light bulbs, then comes back in the neutral wire. So I have a question for you. What can you say about the magnitude of the current in the hot wire and the magnitude of the current in the neutral wire? We'll give you some choices. And you know there's conservation of current, and any of the current that goes out the hot wire comes back in the neutral wire. We know that's true. And so the two currents have to be equal. And in fact, this device is checking to see that that's true at all times. If the current in the hot wire and the current in the neutral wire are not equal, the outlet will disconnect. And so there'll be no more electricity. And we can prove that as follows. First off, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to disconnect these two wires. Now these two wires are live. They are live. This one is hot, this one is neutral. This lamp is connected to the same circuit, and so it's live, and I can tell that because the lamp is lit. This container of water is grounded. It's grounded. It's connected by a wire to the third pin of the electrical supply. So if I take these two wires and put them inside this container, here's what happens. Electricity will go from the hot wire, not to the neutral wire. Some of it will go into the water, and it will go to the ground. And we've seen that the ground can carry current. Well, if it's going to the ground, it's not going back through the neutral wire. And so the current in the hot wire and the neutral wire are not equal. And here's what happens. The outlet disconnects. And it disconnects very quickly. And so you saw when I put this in here, there were no sparks. There's no smoke. It's a very, very gentle affair. What happens is the outlet turns itself off. And you have outlets like this in your house. Now, where in your house are you most likely to have an outlet of this nature? We'll give you some choices. Here's why we have these GFI or ground fault interrupter circuits. If this wire is hot, and if I'm touching the ground with bare feet and my feet are wet, I'm in very good contact with the ground. If I touch that hot wire, there could be a dangerous current through my body, and that could lead to a nasty electric shock. Where in your house are you most apt to be grounded? In the kitchen and in the bathroom. And those are the two rooms in your house where codes require you to have outlets of this sort. And if you're in a situation like that, and you have this ground fault, some of the current goes to the ground rather than going to the neutral plug, the outlet disconnects itself. And so in fact, no matter what you've seen in movies, if you're in a situation where someone has a device that's protected this way, if you put this in contact with water, the net result is reasonably gentle. And here's a hairdryer, and the hairdryer has a ground fault interrupter built into it. So now, the outlet's live, the hairdryer is going, and if I take it and drop it in the water, let's watch what happens. No smoke, no steam, no sparks. The outlet disconnects itself before anything too awful can happen. And your household outlets are protected this way. Now, don't try this. Do not do this. We've given careful thought to safety behind the scenes. But we want you to know that somebody else has given careful thought to safety behind the scenes, and those are the people who have wired your house. And so the electricity in your house, though it's potentially dangerous, has safety features built in, and we'll learn about these safety features in some detail in Chapter 26.